So there's the strategic part of our plan, and this is to preempt the visceral reactions with visceral connections. And so the visceral reactions that we might get from management or our stakeholders or our teams, we can be really smart about this and have a great plan as leaders in terms of being able to build relationships with those key folks in a way that connects with them on an instinctive level, in a way that they just know is right. So if we look at the word visceral, we see that it's characterized by or proceeding from instinct rather than intellect, a visceral type of reaction. So this is something that's going to be very key, and I will explain to you next that the reason why that this is so key is that the intellect is dominated and driven by the left brain, and the instinct type reactions are dominated by the right brain. And so you need to understand a little bit about left and right brain mechanics to understand how to be a really great leader or even a good leader. And so the problem is that we actually have two brains, and we are the only species that has a configuration as such. And so the left brain, since it deals with hard facts and tactile things, can take over control and pretty much shut down the right brain functions. And when this happens, we are not creating the types of trust relationships that we need to, and we are not actually being able to be in a position where we are able to persuade people very effectively. So the left brain is in charge of the programming that we do. Again, it can take over and it can override, and it can completely shut down our instincts. It can completely shut down our intuition. So we have to figure out, how do we keep this from happening? And there are some tricks that I'm going to show you how to use in terms of leading your teams, and then that way that will help you be able to lead and be successful and hopefully not be eviscerated. So before we talk about the leadership skills, we have to talk about the project management techniques versus project management leadership skills. Now there are 4 techniques, and the reason why that it's important to understand the difference between techniques and skills is because techniques are like tools in a toolbox. They are very left brain things, and they are easy enough to learn. You could learn these 4 key project management techniques probably in about 12 hours. But just because you've learned them and you know how to do them doesn't mean that you can go back to your place of business and be successful with them. And that is where leadership skills come in. And that is where dealing with people on an instinctive level as opposed to an intellectual level, and being able to use your entire brain and their entire brain to further what you're trying to do, that is where this comes in. So there are 4 project management techniques, and I'm just going to mention these and then put a placeholder and we'll come back to them. But creating a charter with clear business requirements, a scope statement with clear scope boundaries, and a work breakdown structure and a basic schedule are really the only 4 techniques that you really need to become a very, very good project manager. Everything else kind of hangs off of that. Risk management and other things of that nature. So really, when you get it down to the brass tacks, there's just 4 or 5 techniques that you really need. But you can go learn those techniques and become as proficient as you want with those outside of your work environment. But whenever you start to try to come back and lead, then you're going to have a tough time unless you're able to understand how to connect with people at an instinctive level. So there are 3 strategic objectives of our plan. These 3 key strategic objectives tie directly back to 3 key project leadership skills.